Spider-Man PS4 is a game developed by Insomniac Games, who seem to be returning to their comfort zone of pseudo-3D platformers by making a game that might as well be a 3D collectathon, considering the fact that by the end of it you'll have so many tokens you'll be able to replace every token character in existence. And although that sounds like an insult, or at least I hope it does, it's honestly fine considering just how well a lot of its quote-unquote collectibles are introduced and executed. However, I'll touch up on that. The story of Spider-Man PS4 left me with mixed feelings, and not because it's bad. It's completely serviceable, occasionally meandering, but serviceable. The reason why I have a problem with it is because I feel the main story that Insomniac wanted to tell was left in the background until the final third of the game. The TLDR of the story is that after adult Spider-Man defeats Wet Willy, he creates a power vacuum, which allows Mr. Photoshop to stage a plot to get revenge on Not Yet Green Gobbo by stealing Plot MacGuffin 47, aka Devil's Breath, a super cure for genetic diseases that really sucks at being a super cure, so he can have NYGG activate it and be responsible for an epidemic just as he was responsible for the explosion that turned him into Mr. Photoshop and killed his parents. After that is resolved, the B-plot of Peter's job working for Otto the Octo becomes the A-plot of Otto going nuts because science, and also uses the MacGuffin 47 to do essentially the same thing as before, but with help this time. The story worked, it was enjoyable, it had a lot of good moments, but it clearly served as a catalyst for the gameplay above all. Which, to be fair, is by far the best part of the game. It is comprised, like the Arkham series, into 4 parts: exploration, stealth, combat, and pointless puzzles that people either don't care about or tolerate. Out of all of them, the exploration had the most care put into it because blessed bovines, I don't think I've had this much fun just moving in a game before. The web swinging is fast, fluid, responsive, and the perfect blend of low skill floor with high skill ceiling. Granted, the game never really capitalizes on what you can do besides in Taskmaster challenges, but we'll get to those later when we talk about tokens. The combat system is also decent. It gives you a plethora of options that suit a wide variety of playstyles, with things like gadgets that are reminiscent of the weapons in Ratchet and Clank, and plenty of engagement abilities so combat never really slows down. However, the best thing about the combat system by far is the focus bar. The focus bar was a spot of genius on the part of Insomniac, as it is a bar that is both used for healing and incredibly flashy finishers. It is filled through every successful attack, dodge, or web attack. This is brilliant not only because the bar is extremely dynamic and constantly changing, but also incredibly engaging because it rewards you for playing the game well, yet acts as a crutch if you're having a bit of trouble. This also allows you to choose how you approach combat. The same can't be said for the stealth, however, because it feels like Insomniac took a passing glance at Arkham's notes before the exam and still got a C-. It has all the fundamentals but lacks what made them engaging in the first place. In Arkham, the enemies react to you, become paranoid, frightened. They'll try using tactics that work against the playstyle you've been favoring. In Spider-Man, the enemies are like, then move on with their lives after a minute. It's not nearly as engaging. And as for the puzzles, and the 4 side character stealth sections, the best way I can describe them is an appetizer of potato chips. Not bad, not good, serves its purpose, but at the end you can't help but feel let down. Now, to return to the token thing I mentioned before. The world is full of various collectibles and challenges that unlock a variety of different tokens. These can range from finding old backpacks with knickknacks that can lead to characterization and world building, to demented obstacle courses created by a sadist, to literally catching pigeons. And they all give you tokens. These tokens are somewhat tied to progression, as they can be used to unlock or upgrade gadgets, but you can also dump a few into getting a new suit with customizable powers. But don't be afraid about having to slam story progression into a brick wall to grind, because the game gives you plenty of time between story beats to do what you want. So during the 20 or so hours it takes to complete the game, there should be little to no grinding. As for the presentation, besides looking fantastic on the PS4, also does a good job of replicating the bustling feel of NYC in terms of both the sheer scale and representation. It also can't be understated how well the game's story and the game itself are heavily intertwined, as the opening section where you immediately transition from swinging in the cinematic to actually swinging in-game was one of the most exhilarating feelings I've ever had in a video game ever. The tonal shifts in the world as the story beats happen via weather and lighting does wonders for my immersion. Also, JJJ is the best. The only complaint I really can levy against this game in terms of presentation is that some of the faces straddle the uncanny valley, though it never really gets too bad. Spider-Man PS4 follows a trend I've been noticing in the gaming industry as of late, and that is with games that are excellent with firm foundations, but have flaws that could be improved upon in a sequel. These are games like Breath of the Wild, God of War 2018, Octopath Traveler, and The Messenger. All of these are fantastic games, but either have one major problem holding them back, or a bunch of quality life issues preventing them from reaching perfection. Now, this is not a bad position to be in, as near perfect is still positive. It's just, this is the first time I'm giddy looking forward to sequels of all things, as I usually approach them with a lazy until proven decent attitude. But without promising all of these games have just started out, let's just say the future's looking bright.